pill, IUD, different pill. My poor hormones were sent on a joyride. The acne just got worse. Like that angry drunk frat guy, like barreling out of the house for a fight. The biggest myths about the birth control pill is it doesn't actually balance your hormones. I'm snapping at people, I can't sleep, I'm hot all the time. You're gonna actually be grateful for your acne in the end. That really helped me realize that acne is just...
Keen to jump into this conversation. Katie, thank you for joining me.
I'm so excited. I love guesting on podcasts.
Can you, for the people that are listening that haven't come across you, can you share a little bit about your journey into functional medicine and really what inspired you to start focusing specifically on skin health?
What's really interesting is I worked in television for 14 years. I had this whole plan of I was going to work in television, and I live in Canada. I spent 14 years working for Hockey Night in Canada, which is one of our biggest national broadcasts across the country. I spent 5 years as an on-air location host as well, hosting my own show as a videographer. So I was really making my career in television. I had grown up eating really horribly, like fettuccine Alfredo, pizza, chicken fingers, like that standard North American diet was very much my focus. I didn't drink water. And I had never expected I would go into a career in nutrition. So when I was working in television, I actually ended up coming off the birth control pill in my early 20s. And my previously perfectly clear skin, I'd get the odd pimple throughout high school, but my perfectly clear skin, I now started to get very like braille-like acne on my forehead, my temples, my cheeks. And I was like, what is going on? And then some cystic acne started to pop up. And the only thing I had changed was coming off the birth control pill. So I went back to my doctor and said, something is happening with my face after coming off the pill. And she said, Katie, there is no way that coming off the birth control has done this to your face. Because what I had actually done is I stopped taking the pill and I started I started having an IUD. She's like, there's no way that changing your birth control did this to your skin. I was like, well, it's the only thing I've done. So take the IUD out, give me the pill back. And that made things even worse because now you're basically playing like you're on a roller coaster with your hormones. You're like, pill, IUD, different pill. And my poor hormones were sent on a joyride and the acne just got worse. So now I'm dealing with cystic acne on my chin, my jawline. I'm getting it on the tops of my shoulders, my back, the backs of my arms. And when you're working in television with your face on an HD camera every single day while working at a very prestigious show where you're talking to celebrities and NHL players and alumni and executives, my self-confidence just plummeted and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was trying all of the cleansers and lotions and potions and serums, doing the different medications. Nothing was working to clear up my skin. I remember at the same time, I was actually working on a gluten-free cooking show. This was 2010. Gluten was not a thing yet. So I was like, listen, I come from an Italian household. I don't know what you mean about giving up this gluten thing. So when I gave it up just to try it to see what would happen, I had no idea it would impact my skin. My lifelong migraines I'd had since kindergarten had completely cleared up. And I thought, whoa, like there's something here. And that's when I really began to obsess over health and nutrition. Went back to school to study nutrition. And in my very, very first textbook, about 3/4 of the way through, there was a paragraph on the birth control pill and how it impacts the body and can cause acne. And this was like one of those like cartoon light bulb moments for me, because up until that moment, I thought my acne was just a topical problem. But that really helped me realize that acne is just an external symptom of an internal issue.
The sad part about your story is that it's very common for so many women. Now we probably, if you went to your GP and they said, you said, look, I've broken out, what's happened? They'd probably, be able to put two and two together, although not all still do, unfortunately, but the good ones do. But it's such a common thing for women to experience that, and it's something that I think a lot of women, it stops them from actually coming off birth control because they know that their skin will flare. I mean, I find that almost always the skin flares. Is that your experience with working with people that are suffering from this?
The majority of the time, there will be a flare coming off of some sort, right? I do know, just in the outside of my practice, I've known some people where they come off and their skin's not that bad. For the women that we have worked with, when they come off of the birth control pill, their skin flares, whether it's within a month, whether it's 3 months or 6 months. So when they come to us, they're like, what is happening with my face? I've been trying all the things. My period's not back. Like all of that's happening for them.
It's really common at that 3 to 6 month mark. mark, isn't it? Like that's,
Yes.
Do you want to explain why to people? Because I think people are like, why is this happening now? I stopped taking this 6 months ago.
What's really interesting about the birth control is a lot of women think that by taking the birth control, it actually balances their hormones, which is one of the biggest myths about the birth control pill, is it doesn't actually balance your hormones. It simply just masks the symptoms, suppresses the symptoms that you're experiencing so that you don't have the acne, the heavy, painful periods. And when you're on the birth control pill, you don't actually get a real period. When you have that monthly bleed, it's actually just a withdrawal bleed. So for that length of time that you've been on the birth control pill, you haven't had a period. It actually shuts off your brain talking to your ovaries. We're not having the ovulation. And when we come off of that, a lot of these women have been taking the pill since they were 13, 14. They've taken it till 25, 35, and then they come off to have children. And then that 3 to 6 months, it's almost like it's the 3 to 6 months for the cycles to start coming back. Because the way that follicular genesis works, which is the maturation of an egg, is actually a 90-day cycle. So you almost get a hormonal reset every 90 days. So when we have those clients and it's like the 3 to 6 month window, it's like their hormones are finally getting a chance to breathe again. And then all of the chaos is kind of erupting.
The birth control pill also somewhat shut down sebum production as well in the skin, or am I making that up?
Yes. So what's interesting about the birth control pill is it also suppresses androgen. So that's one of the reasons that women are put on it, because of the androgen suppression. Androgens, when they are too high, they can be increasing the sebum production in the skin, leading to more oily skin, which can clog pores and lead to breakouts. So that's why when they're on the birth control, the oiliness comes down. But then when you come off of the pill, a lot of women experience an androgen rebound. And I almost explain it like that angry drunk frat guy, like barreling out of the house for a fight where he's like finally let out. It's almost like that androgen rebound is happening now.
I think we're becoming more and more aware how important it is to treat our skin from the inside out, not just the outside in. I know, when I was a teenager, that was definitely not a thing. One of the most common questions mothers will ask me is, how do I treat my daughter's skin breakouts? And there's so many reasons why, or factors that you need to look at. But from a root cause perspective, what are the most common causes that you see of breakouts? I mean, even skin irritations, rashes, they kind of all come under the one umbrella.
So when we work with our clients, we always walk them through what we call the 5 acne clearing pillars. And for the over 3,000 women that we've worked with all over the world, and I should say we've worked with men as well, it's always a combination of these 5. It's never just one of these pillars. So we need to be looking at their gut health, their detoxification, their hormonal health, their nervous system, and then their skin barrier and skin microbiome. So when we look at that, we actually run functional medicine testing for our clients. We run a hair trace mineral analysis for everyone, because we want to be seeing where are those imbalances in the organs and the body systems. So for client A, maybe they're a little more gut heavy, where they have low stomach acid, they have leaky gut, and they have candida, but they also have poor methylation pathways and really high cortisol. But then you get client B, who their lymphatic system is very stagnant. Their liver isn't detoxifying well. They're having really bad constipation. They have SIBO, and they're dealing with adrenal stress. Those differences are going to be very different ways to treat that individual. So it's not that there's just one root cause, is that there's multiple body systems involved that have to be fixed and worked on cohesively and all at the same time.
And it's such a challenge too, because when you talk about that nervous system part, that piece, like you said, you're experiencing horrible skin when you were working, in television, and confidence goes down. Regulating the nervous system whilst you're battling self-confidence challenges, like, how do you even start with that? What are some of the things that you would take your clients through?
It's so interesting because everyone always overlooks the nervous system, emotional well-being, our mental health on any healing journey. They're like, no, give me the supplements, tell me what I need to eat and what I need to do. That's it. And nobody really wants to give merit or credit to the importance of the emotional well-being. And we've seen borderline miracles happen with clients where they're like, no, I don't need to work on my mindset. I don't need to work on my traumas or my stress. It's just my gut, and this. And we say, listen, we're going to hit a plateau if we don't work on our nervous system, because at the end of the day, our nervous system, if we're stuck in fight or flight, our body's never going to be able to fully self-heal. So you can do all of the candida cleanses and liver detox and hormone balancing that you want, but if your nervous system doesn't feel safe and your body doesn't feel safe to heal, you're never truly going to get the result there. So what we really walk our clients through is we like to look at things like mindset. We look at self-talk. We look at past emotional traumas and chronic stress. So generally when we're looking at the stress, we start with the easy bits. It's, can we be setting more boundaries? For a lot of our clients, they're women, they're moms, they're givers, they're overdoers. So we ask them to start finding ways, can they be setting boundaries in their day? Can they be adding a little bit of extra joy in their day? Can we be working on sleep? Because when we're getting enough sleep, it's going to be positively impacting our mood and making our motivation a little bit better. So when we get these foundations in place, then working through the mindset becomes a little bit easier. And it's not to say that this is an overnight thing where you're going to have a few affirmations and by Saturday, your mindset's going to be completely healed. It's actually one of the hardest things that a person is going to work on. And even our clients that have had past emotional traumas will also always refer them out to, a practitioner that is a counselor, a therapist, a psychologist. So that way they have that support to be able to work through those. And a lot of it that we're doing behind the scenes with our client is really looking at their verbiage. So we're looking at those words that they're saying about themselves. And it's like, this isn't going to work. I'm never going to heal. I'm ugly. I'm worthless. We help them start to reframe that and start to reprogram their brain.
So interesting and so important, because I often say it's the easiest, hardest thing, like easiest to identify. Often, not always, but often it is easy to identify if someone's stressed, for example, overworked or overwhelmed or constantly has an emotion, anxiety, whatever that might be. We can often identify it, but then it's so much there's so much more awareness that's needed for that, as opposed to taking supplements or taking something out of the diet or putting something into the diet. For that person that's listening going, that's me, is it a matter of the first step being awareness or triggering the awareness for these people? Like, I know you've given some great tips just there.
I think when you're aware of, oh my gosh, that's me. I am overworked. I am the overgiver, the overdoer. I don't set boundaries. I say yes to everything. I'm always stressed at the end of the day. I have past traumas. That's me. I think just being aware is that first step to recognizing, okay, maybe I do need to make some changes.
And also for teenagers though, I think this is really hard because their life experience to date is not what someone in their 20s, 30s or 40s has experienced. And everything feels big, especially depending on the person. I've got 2 teenagers, but everything feels big. It's the first time they feel these certain feelings. It's like there's a lot of pressure to perform. Do you have any word of advice for the teenagers that are in the thick of that? Like it is really difficult, isn't it?
I couldn't imagine being a teenager in today's age. Like, I'm so glad I'm a millennial because we were the last generation that didn't have technology in high school. I couldn't imagine how difficult it is to be on social media and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. And, that they live in a whole nother world that we never lived in when they're in this time. That's very, very difficult as is. They're trying to find their place and find out who they are and fit in and all of these things. So I think sometimes, even giving yourselves as a teenager, like a digital detox and just like pulling away from your phone and not being constantly glued to it, because it's like when you're constantly on it, you're getting bombarded with the flawless skin and the glass skin and the 12-step Korean skincare. And I think just reminding yourself that what we're seeing on social media really is that highlight reel. We're seeing the best of what people want everybody else to see. We're seeing filters. Well, the faces that we're seeing on social media isn't real skin. They have filters on. There's perfect lighting. Like even now, my lighting's great, so it looks like I have glass skin. There's no pores. But if you look up close, you're going to see, there's pores in the nose, there's sebaceous filaments, and just reminding yourself what real skin actually looks like.
It is so important to remind ourselves, because if you look at any pictures that we're seeing and then sometimes you get a glimpse of someone's real skin and you're like, oh, you're normal like the rest of us.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I love that you've said that. I think it's such an important message, especially for teenagers that are, they're the years where they're the most impressionable and they're really feeling it, and it's really difficult. Speaking of social media though,
yes.
I just have thought of this. What's the worst trend that you've seen when it comes to skin?
Are you ready for it? Actually, I have 2.
I am.
The 2 of the crazy things I have had people personally tell me, not just I've seen it, they have used their own urine as a toner.
Oh.
Because the idea is that it is acidic, so it will balance the pH in your skin. Myth, it won't. The second one is that they use their own menstrual blood as a face mask. That is also a no, because their thinking is that it's going to be like PRP, but we have to remember that when we go and get PRP done at a clinic, they are extracting it in a very sterile way. And when you're putting menstrual blood on your face, that is a combination of blood, endometrial tissue, like there's a whole bunch of stuff.
And waste, it's the cleansing mechanism. Our uterus is a self-cleansing, or it's the only self-cleansing like that organ.
Yes.
It's something we don't need anymore. It's supposed to be gone.
It's not for your face. So those are the two, the menstrual blood and the urine. Yeah. Don't use your bodily fluids as skincare, please.
Oh my goodness. But having said that.
Yeah.
And again, I'm on this teen theme. There are so many teens overusing products.
Yes.
What do teenagers need for skincare?
I think when you're dealing with acne, the idea is more is more. You're like, I need more products, more acids, more exfoliators. I need to get it off. But what that really does is it disrupts your skin barrier. So your skin barrier is a protective mechanism. And when we are overusing harsh products and ingredients, it's going to be disrupting the skin barrier. It's going to be disrupting your skin's microbiome, because we actually do have a microbiome on our skin. When this happens, we're going to be getting increased breakouts, dryness, irritation, inflammation, sensitized skin. We're now reacting to more things in our environment because that protective mechanism is gone. So really paring it back, and we need to, at the bare minimum, looking at like a gentle cleanser, a serum if they want to be, one type of treatment, a hydrating moisturizer, and an SPF. Because we want to be making sure we're putting our SPF on in the day. We don't need to be, putting all of these 46 serums, 12-step routines. And it's also looking at the ingredients that you're using. Because a lot of teens, they're on TikTok and they see this new influencer recommended skincare routine or something from Korea. And they're like, oh my gosh, I need it. But we have to look at what are those ingredients. One, is it going to be non-comedogenic? Two, are there endocrine disruptors in the products, which are going to be ingredients that actually mimic hormones in our body, which we don't want to be doing if we're trying to get rid of our hormonal acne. And making sure that we're not overusing it with like the benzoyl peroxides, the alcohols, all of these really, really harsh ingredients.
So important. And what about the teenager that doesn't have acne, that just is, maybe God's chosen child? I don't know, but they do exist, right?
They do.
Is it the same advice, the same care needed?
I would give the same advice for the products. It's just maybe the ingredients might shift. Where somebody dealing with acne, maybe the serum that they're using has some salicylic acid in, which is going to be an exfoliant that's going to be helping to like slough off the dead skin. But if we are not dealing with acne, maybe we don't need a salicylic acid. Maybe we want to focus on brightening. So we're looking at a vitamin C, or we're looking at a niacinamide, or they just want to love up their skin barrier. So something with probiotics. I think when it comes down to the acne sufferer versus the non-acne sufferer, the different part will be in the ingredients that they're using.
It is interesting. It's come a long way. When we were teenagers, we used to try and strip our skin. Strip as much of that off, because we used to think that if it was oily, it was going to make more.
Yeah. The oxy pads. Like you would have those like that were stringent, made your skin burn. Yeah, we lived in a different time.
Did that damage our skin, do you think?
I'm sure it did some damage. Those, like I remember like my brothers would have those oxy pads that were the little white pads that you would, and your face would sting, it would be dry. And you're like, yeah, this is doing it. This is working. And then I'm going to use my St. Ives apricot scrub. Yeah, no, I don't think we did our skin any service.
What about nowadays? One of the more, I think it's actually leaned upon a lot is some type of Accutane, Accutane. These medications that are very often not just for teenagers. I see a lot of women in their 40s being prescribed medication for their skin, which we can talk about. Obviously, sometimes women get to a point where they're fed up, and that's the next suggestion. How do you feel about that?
I think a medication is always going to be a personal choice. We would never tell somebody to stop or start a medication. It's ultimately your decision. But I think being informed and making an informed decision is going to be the most important thing, because I get it. I had acne. I understand how desperate you get when you're like, I just need my skin gone. It's impacting my mental health and how I'm feeling about myself. So really just weighing the options on what you want to do, but also being informed of how Accutane or Accutane can actually impact the body. It is a systemic drug, which means it can impact the entire body. It's very drying. It can be purging. It can be very hard on the liver. It can be very hard on your eyes. It can in some cases, it can cause lifelong side effects to the medication. Here in Canada, at least, if you are a woman and on Accutane, you have to be taking the birth control pill as well. So it doesn't, because you can be having birth effects as well. So just knowing how hard it is on the body, and also knowing that it's not a guaranteed solution. For so many of our clients, they have done Accutane not just one time, not just 2 times or 3 times. We have clients that have done Accutane 6 to 7 times. Their acne comes back every single time within 6 months to 18 months. And then they try it again and again and again. So just going in knowing that absolutely it can work great for some, but for every single client we've worked with, their acne has come back.
Because it's not actually treating the root cause. So for those people that come in and they are taking Accutane of some whatever, is it a matter of meeting them where they're at and helping to support them whilst they're taking that? Because obviously you can start to do other work in the background that's not being done, that Accutane can never do, and start to really come back and build those foundational pieces, knowing that hopefully when they come off, then they're not rebounding continuously because you've done that work.
We will always meet a client where they're at. For the thousands of women we work with, I feel like maybe only one, I would have to say like around 3% stay on a medication, whether it's the birth control pill, it's Accutane. Because we have had clients coming in, they're like, I'm halfway through Accutane, I still want to do this. I know it's impacting my body. Can you please help support? So we will help support their body, and we'll still do functional testing, and we'll still work with them to support their body through this process. And even if we have a lot of clients who are like, I'm not coming on birth control, it's a decision I've made for me and where I'm at. So we're like, okay, let's make sure we're supporting our gut, we're supporting our detox organs, we're working on our cortisol, we're balancing our blood sugar, we're restoring nutrient deficiencies. So just being aware of what those side effects are, and then being able to support the body in that way.
I think it is important, obviously, because there's a person listening going, do I have to wait till I'm finished to then, like, so often we do that with whatever it is. We often wait for the end to start the next thing, which is probably not ideal given you're trying to set the body up so that doesn't happen again. Do you ever find, however, I find often with patients and birth control, and again, always meeting them where they're at, I think that's really important. Sometimes it is actually the problem. And so, having that conversation saying, let's see where your body lands. We can't know until you start to do these certain things that we recommend, and then we can decide. Does that ever happen? It could be the factor that's actually fueling the problem.
Absolutely. Especially when it comes to birth control. We have a lot of clients that are on birth control that are still getting acne, or it's made their skin worse. We have had so many clients, obviously antibiotics is one of the first steps that an acne sufferer will have. And they're like, my skin was great while I was on the antibiotics, but as soon as I came back or stopped the antibiotics, my skin not only came back to acne, but it was 10 times worse. And it's because what really was happening is, for acne sufferers, their gut is struggling, whether they have low stomach acid, they have candida, they have sebum, they have leaky gut. And then throwing that antibiotic in is basically a nuclear bomb and wiping out the good and bad bacteria. Then it allows for the bad bacteria to set up, and we're increasing inflammation, and then we're just leading to more acne. So really, when we're looking at these short-term solutions, they can actually be the fuel to the fire.
It's important to have that conversation, I think, because like you said, you're not saying don't or do. You're just wanting people to have this information. So often I don't think they have it. Also not here to, say or put a negative light on certain industries, but I do feel like a lot of patients go to a dermatologist. It seems to be very much a cookie cutter approach. It's often like certain, very basic skincare, antibiotics is definitely the next step. It doesn't seem, the toolkit's pretty limited. To the person that's been to the dermatologist and been told that they need to take antibiotics, what do they need to hear? Like, what's the next step in your opinion?
I just want them to know that the medication isn't the only option. And I want them to feel validated where they're at, because they're going and they're trying to get help somewhere, but they're not getting the answers that they need and that they want. And, all of our clients, majority of them have seen dermatologists, and they're like, the dermatologist gave me nothing, and I asked them what about my diet? What about this? And they just shot me down completely and gave me medication and pushed me out the door. So just knowing that there is other options. And when you're starting from scratch, you're like, this whole health and wellness thing is so overwhelming. We really love to start our clients with their digestion, their blood sugar, and their nervous system. These are the 3 pillars we really like to build from, because what we do is we run a functional test while we're waiting for their lab results to come back. We're like, okay, let's start working on these base things, because if we're eating the best diet in the world, but we're not able to break our food down, we're not able to absorb and assimilate it into the body, it doesn't really matter, because you need those nutrients to be repairing your skin, to be producing hormones, to be giving you energy, to just be functioning making your body function. If we're not breaking your food down, that can also lead to putrefaction of our food, which becomes a perfect little snack for all of the bad bacteria and yeast in your gut, which allows them to overgrow, proliferate, and cause more inflammation. Then maybe we're leading to constipation, so we're not having a healthy bowel movement every single day. And remember that our bowels is how our body is getting rid of excess toxins and waste and excess hormones like estrogen. And if they aren't excreted in a timely manner, they can end up back in circulation, which is going to lead to higher levels of toxicity, inflammation, and hormonal imbalances in our body, all because our digestion is off. So if we can be just focusing on digestion and then moving into blood sugar, for so many acne sufferers, they're like, no, Katie, like I have hormonal acne. And we're like, yes, and you have to remember your body doesn't work, like the organ systems don't work in silos. They all work together. So when we're looking at, say, our blood sugar and insulin, this is really important for acne sufferers, because a lot of them have blood sugar that is completely dysregulated. When that happens, it's going to be a domino effect into increasing that sebum production in the skin, clogging pores, leading to acne as well. And then that final component, which we've already touched on, is the nervous system. If our body doesn't feel safe, it's not going to be able to self-heal. So really looking at these 3 areas is the foundation where we really want clients to start from.
Women, as they move into their perimenopause and menopausal years, will notice that their skin starts to change. And they're like, what the heck? I thought I already had my time with acne and now here I am again. Although it might not necessarily be in the same places. There's a relationship with hormone changes, or anytime there's hormone shifts. Like I personally had horrible skin when I was pregnant. My skin went crazy when I was pregnant with both kids. I know that the principles probably don't change much. But for the woman in her 40s that's listening going, okay, you've given me advice with the teenager. What about me? What do we need to know?
It's such a hard time, right? Is your body's changing again. You don't know what's going on. You're like, I'm snapping at people. I can't sleep. I'm hot all the time. What is happening? So really, when it comes to our perimenopausal clients, it's that same foundation. Can we be working on your digestion, your blood sugar, and your nervous system? Because this is really those big pillars that we want to be building everything else from. Because when we run our HTMAs and our functional labs, a lot of our perimenopausal, we're seeing yeast interference. So there's going to be that candida. They don't have enough stomach acid to be breaking their food down. Their adrenals are just out for a joyride. So I think when it comes to also the perimenopausal, it's setting those lifestyle habits in place. It's, can we be looking at, are we eating enough food in the day? Like, are we just having coffee and that's our meal for breakfast and then we're not eating till 3 p.m.? Are we eating enough protein, fiber, and healthy fats for our body? Because, as women, so many of us are deficient in protein. We're just not getting enough. If we're not getting enough healthy fats, remember that your hormones rely on healthy fats in order for good production. And can we be making sure that we're reducing stress where we can? Because a lot of the perimenopausal, you have a family, you have a spouse, you're a caregiver, you have parents that are aging that you're taking care of. You're working, you're really in that midlife, and it can be very stressful. So can you be incorporating those stress reduction practices? And it's going to be different for everybody, where one person, maybe they find deep breathing really great. Another person, I like to go for a nature walk. I like tapping. I like whatever that may be. Find something like 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be extensive to fit in your day. And then one of the most important things, which we briefly touched on, is going to be sleep. It's so, so important. And I know it's difficult when you're going through perimenopause, but we really want to be getting that quality sleep and working on that quality sleep with a practitioner to make sure that our body has that time to reset.
I think the unfortunate thing is that we are now seeing so much talk about perimenopause and menopause that women just expect it to be horrible, and it doesn't have to be. It's the feedback that our body's constantly giving us that give us an opportunity to just make those little adjustments. So I think if you can lay the foundation in the teen years with skin and everything, because it's not, skin is just a reflection of what's happening on the inside, then you can kind of set those foundations up so that when little discrepancies happen, you know exactly what you need to do to actually just make those little shifts. It doesn't have to be a horrible time. It can actually be completely fine, like the rest of your life. We've done it. We did it. I have one more question for you. Yeah. For that younger version of yourself, the one that was, it feels like so low. Your skin was obviously something that caused you so much stress and anxiety and all of that. What would you say to her now?
Ooh, I've actually never been asked this question. This is a really good one. And I've done a lot of podcasts. I would probably have to tell her that you're going to actually be grateful for your acne in the end. And like, if I had told my younger self that, I would have been like, there's no way, you're crazy, like, get out of here. But I was actually ended up being so grateful because it's going to force you to take a look at your health. And when you take a look at your health, you're going to realize that all of the symptoms you're experiencing for your life of allergies and migraines and bloat and stomach aches, that doesn't have to be your norm. So by fixing your health, not only do you clear up your acne, all of those symptoms go away as well. And you're actually setting your future self up for better health.
Katie, thank you so much for joining me. This has been such a great conversation. And I know that, we're focusing a lot on teens here, but the work that you do is for everybody. And I'll make sure that obviously all of the details of how people can find you and connect with you are in the show notes. Please keep doing the work that you're doing because it is super important, and that approach of things from the inside out is just such a missing piece still in 2025. So thank you so much, Katie, for being here today.
Thank you so much. It was great. And I hope people got some good tidbits today.
For everyone that's listened and liked this episode, please go ahead and rate it. That would make me very happy. Any feedback or questions that you have, please let us know. We love helping to continue to support you. That's it from us today. Until next time, bye.